we're talking about the Nishika N8000. It is a film camera that allows you to take images, stack them in Photoshop, and create 3D images. We're going to talk about what it's like to shoot with this camera, a few of the important specs, and whether or not I think you should buy one. Let's get into it. First, I want to talk about what it's like shooting with the Nishika. It comes in around a pound, 1.1 pounds roughly, and it is made of all plastic. So it's not super heavy, but it is a little bit bulky. And adding the flash on top does make this camera slightly more bulky, a lot more bulky, but because it's not super heavy, it's not super cumbersome to shoot with. If this camera weighed more, I think adding a flash to it along with the weight of the camera would be a lot more cumbersome and would make it less inspiring to pick up and go shoot. When you're shooting with this camera, there are frame lines, as you can see, that surround your subject. But the frame lines are in a very small viewfinder. I would say that your frame lines are more of a suggestion than what the pictures are going to look like when you get them back. I noticed that a lot of the pictures I was intentionally composing within those frame lines came back with more of the image that was outside of those frame lines than I was anticipating. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're trying to use those frame lines as a guideline, I would say just use what you see in the viewfinder because you're going to get a more accurate representation than you will if you use the frame lines to make your compositions. Another point of shooting with this camera is that everybody wants to know what it is. It's super funky. It has these 4 lenses on the front that shoot the image simultaneously, and nobody really knows, unless you're a photographer, what this camera is. And everyone seems to be super excited when I tell them what it is to see the results at the end. It's a really fun and engaging camera that not just photographers want to know about and photographers want to use, but it's also intriguing to the everyday person who just wants to take pictures for fun. This camera is going to be a talking point, so know that wherever you bring it, you're going to have people asking you about it because it's such a unique looking camera and the results that you get from it are so fun that most people want to be a part of the experience whether or not they know what it is. The last point to shooting with this camera that I want to make is about having a flash. I do feel that having a flash for this camera is essential. Most of the images that I took with this camera, I used the flash for it. And when I didn't have it, the images that I got, they didn't come back as well lit. So I would say that if you're going to purchase this camera, having the flash with it is definitely an essential. It's going to make the images you get from the camera turn out better, and in return, you're going to want to shoot with it more because you're going to be excited about the work that comes from using this camera. Now for the specs. This camera comes in roughly around $200. I did spend $160 on mine, and that did include the flash, and most of the ones you find on eBay come in around that $200 range. There was a dip in price when popularity fell out, and some people were able to get this camera for $10, $20, but now this camera has come back into popularity, and it is again around that $200 range. So if you find one that is under that $200 range and is in working condition, it might be worth going ahead and snagging it. This camera does have a fixed shutter speed. The manual says that it is set at 1/60th, but there have been some forums and some information online that suggests otherwise. I'm going to go with what I read off of the manual, and that is 1/60th. So if you see information that is suggesting otherwise, know that when you read the manual, it does say that the shutter speed is 1/60th of a second. The Nishika does have 3 separate apertures that you can choose from. You're going to have your f8, your f11, and your f19. And this little toggle here is going to switch between those. You're not going to be able to see the lenses change aperture when you switch that. So if you're looking to have a visual reference to see what that aperture looks like by looking at the opening on the lenses, you're not going to be able to see that. So know that in advance. On the top of the camera, you're going to have this little reference that Nishika has given you. It tells you essentially how far you need to be away from your subject. It's essentially telling you not to get closer than 6 feet to your subject in the foreground because your images are not going to turn out. There is a battery check button so that you can see whether or not the batteries in the camera are still good, and the battery is supplying your light meter. And when you half press on the shutter, you'll get a red dot in the middle of your viewfinder if there isn't enough light, but it doesn't give you any other information. When this red light appears, if there isn't enough light on your subject, it's simply telling you there isn't enough light. But I'm gonna go out on a whim and say that it's not very accurate because this room is pretty well lit right now. If I half press on this shutter, it's giving me that red light, saying that I am not well lit. I would not use the light meter in this camera, so really you probably don't even need batteries, other than the batteries that you're going to put in your flash. Obviously, do with that information what you will, but I would not recommend relying on the light meter in this camera. You can get a light meter app on your phone that is going to give you much better results than anything that you're going to get out of this camera. Take into consideration whatever setting you're in when you are using this camera, because you want to make sure that if you don't have enough light, you do have that flash, and if there's too much light, you are adjusting the aperture because it does not do that for you. And now the most intriguing part of this camera is the lenses. You have 4 lenses on the front of the camera that take an image simultaneously, and each image is taken at a slightly different angle. So you have 2 35mm frames that are cut in half to give you 4 pictures total. Whenever you get your scans back, you're going to take all 4 of those images and you're going to overlap them in Photoshop. There are plenty of tutorials on YouTube on how to stack these photos, so I'm not going to go into great detail on that, but I will say the one I watched was from Brandon Losada. It was a great tutorial. Highly recommend watching that video if you need help on learning how to stack those images. The only thing I would add to the video that was a little bit confusing for me and had a little bit of a learning curve is I found that when I was stacking the images in Photoshop, picking a part of the image that was in the background or behind my subject and stacking those in Photoshop and lining that part of the image up gave me the best result. When I picked things that were in the foreground or even the person's eye, because in some of these photos I had multiple people, picking someone's eye ended up giving me a glitchy image rather than something that was smooth and fluid. So when you are stacking these photos in Photoshop, pick a part of the image that is in the background or the furthest from the subject and stack that on top of each other, and you should have a much smoother transition through the GIF and through that 3D image. The last part of the specs that we need to cover is the type of film this camera takes. It is a 35mm film camera. You cannot put 120 in it, it will not fit. The manual does say that you should use a 35mm color 100 ISO film. I did not do that. I used Kodak Portra 400, and I also used a black and white film because I wanted to know if I could do that with this camera and what it would look like if I did. So here are a few of those images, both in color and in black and white, so you can have an idea of what that looks like and determine whether or not it's something that fits in your creative style. The last thing we need to talk about is whether or not this camera is worth buying. Yes. 1000% yes. It is a camera that I get excited to pick up and shoot with. It's a camera that so many people have asked me about. People want me to take their photo. People who don't know me come up to me and ask me about this camera when I'm carrying it. And other photographers geek out so hard when I have this with me. I know multiple people who have this camera and it's something that they bring with them everywhere. And I know some photographers who have multiples of this because they don't want to be in a situation where they don't have one in working condition. The learning curve on this camera is very low. And if you have a flash, it's almost impossible to take a photo that's not going to come out. Get this camera, have fun with it, and go out and create something beautiful that's gonna make you happy. That's it for today's video. I'll make sure I link all of the gear we use down below, as well as a few links for the Nishika so that you have access to it if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tilly Scholl, and I'll catch you on the next one.